It's a beautiful day.
Good morning, Skip.
Good morning, neighbor.
So you were playing Team Fortress last night and I wanted to join you, but I was trying all night to install the stupid Crisis beta, and I got it installed finally, and that shit didn't work, man. The beta,
Yeah.
It was funny because it's Crisis, you know, it's this game that is supposed to be so like powerful and destroy your system so much, and even the logos at the beginning when it was like loading up Crytek, like it was like at 5 frames per second. I turned the settings pretty far down and I still couldn't get it running well.
If you turn them up, it definitely looks good. But here's the thing. They recently just had this event, right? I got to play a lot of single player there too.
That's what I'm really interested in anyway.
And the multiplayer there on the build they had,
Yeah.
and it was the same rig. I checked the specs, I talked to the NVIDIA guy that was there. And that build, they optimized it and it ran really well. It
Even
worked.
in multiplayer.
Yeah, the multiplayer.
It was newer than the
exact
beta?
Same, yeah, they had another level, but then it was a newer build than the beta that's out.
Okay.
And the level that's also in the beta actually ran well, and then the game became fun. And I still haven't played anywhere near enough to come to any kind of conclusions other than to say that like it's definitely has the potential of a Battlefield game. To say that if they sold it independently and it all comes out and it works, that's the thing. If you have an 8800, you need to be able to run this stupid thing, man.
Yeah, it has to work. I mean, I understand it's beta software, and I'm reserving judgment because I've seen some of the footage of you playing at the single player event.
Yeah.
And that shit looks completely insane. And it's funny that you mentioned Battlefield before, because when I was watching it, what I was thinking is like, man, this looks like Battlefield. Well, Far Cry meets Battlefield, but the single player version of that. Like, you know, where there's all this troop movement going on, the AI seems like it actually knows what it's doing.
Right.
And it's just you intruding upon their space.
And that was so awesome. I mean, when I played that level, I sat down. Like when it was time to go to multiplayer, I didn't even want to play it. I just wanted to keep messing with this level.
Yeah.
And it was so much like you're saying, you know, and even in the E3 level, you know, when I played, I was like, this is all the vibe of a multiplayer game, but a single player game. And instead of feeling like, oh, this is bots and this is a substitute for human players, it still felt very much like this is the way I'm supposed to play it. But, you know, when we talk about the Battlefield or something, that flexibility, that range of movement where you can say, I'm going to go over here, I'm going to go over and do this, I'm going to try vehicles this time, I'm going to try it stealth this time, next time I'm going to go gung-ho with powers. And, you know, what's cool is when you start this level, it's in the middle of the night, you come in with a group of soldiers, and for people that are used to playing Call of Duty or something, it seems real. The experience sets off, and it seems very familiar. You know, all your guys are talking to you. They're running this way. We're going to go as a team, and we're going to do this. So that player of that, you know, mindset, say, hey, I'm going to follow my guys. Guys are going to hold my hand and show me what to do.
Right.
You can go with them, but if you want, you can just be like, well, go ahead and do your thing, guys. But I'm like the superhero of this outfit, and I'm going to like do, you know. Gonna go stealth and go over this other way, climb up a mountain, and maybe I'll see you later. Maybe if you're dead, I won't, you know. And you don't even have to do anything with them.
You still have to finish the objective, right?
You have the same objectives, and like so in the level that we're looking at, you know, it's the usual AA platforms. You need to blow them up.
Sure.
But then of course when you get to the objectives, it's not like go up to this thing and press F to put C4 on it that you magically have, and that you can only
magically
use
blink
purpose,
blink
you know.
yellow or something like that.
Yeah, and it encourages creativity. You know, it was funny. Like someone next to me was playing, and I heard him ask me, like, "Hey, how do I blow this thing up?" You know, once you get used to playing this game, then you're like, okay, well, I don't have anything left. What if I pull up a truck next to it? Kind of like GTA, you know.
Yeah.
I'm gonna pull up a truck next to it and blow that up. Maybe that'll blow it up. If I have grenades, I could try those. If I find a rocket, I could try those. If I have C4 that works like it does in Battlefield, I could use that. But overall, that level is just so much fun, in that, you know, I wanted to take risks. I don't care if I died, because I could do something entirely different.
Are you afraid though that it might like start sucking when there's not total dynamic stuff in the environment to play with? I mean, if it starts.
Oh, the other levels?
Yeah, are the other stages.
I think so. Yeah, because you know I played some of the ice, you know, one of the ice levels,
yeah.
And that was very much the usual, you know, following the path. The extent that the path was as wide as some of the levels in Halo or something like that.
Right.
But that's like orders of magnitude smaller than the level I'm talking about.
Yeah, I don't think people quite understand that. Like when you see this stage, the stage that you're talking about, it's by far like the biggest game environment that I can think of. And that stage is so big, you could play it over and over again and still have a really good time with it every time. Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that like gets them off the hook if the later stages aren't as interesting, but I mean, it's a big stage with like lots of different options, and you can just do so much different stuff in it that it would be fun to fuck around with for a long time.
I snuck a peek at another level too, and that was very similar, and that was pretty cool.
Oh, really?
At some point, they're playing deathmatch, and after like 100 points, I was like, okay, I understand deathmatch, so I loaded up the game.
Dude, that's awesome.
It was cool.
I won't tell anyone.
Yeah. We just told everyone.
Oh shit.
Requesting reinforcements. Get out of the target zone. Move.
I know people that want to buy PGI just to play that. It's insane.
I was really upset when they sent the review build to you. I was like, damn it. You only get one life, but it's the best one life you'll ever have. I love it. Because the thing about Geometry Wars was, you know how it started off slow? Mm-hmm. This one starts off brutal, and that's pretty much all there is. Fast and furious. There's none of that slow stuff in the old Geometry Wars, like where it takes, you know, a couple minutes to get going. But it doesn't really seem like a new game. It's actually just like an intensified version of the old one. I mean, there are a couple new cool components. Like you have the niblets, as we call them. They're the little yellow things on the screen that you have to collect, and they give you massive amounts of multipliers really, really fast, which is fun. But other than that, it is basically shooting and avoiding. And you only get one life, and you have no bombs.
But then it does come packed in with this like fairly sizable racing game as well.
Yeah, that's the problem. Every time I start up the game, because it's buried kind of deep, I have to ask somebody who knows PGR. I have to be like, wait, how do I get to Geometry Wars again? You have to like walk over. So, yeah, that racing game. Well, you know, I'll try that out and probably crash as quickly as I would in Geometry Wars would. But you guys are the experts there.
You know, it really felt a lot like the last one.
First hour bored me senseless. I was like, oh my god, it's just a like reskin, retread with lots of rain and like gratuitous amounts of rain. Oh, they've got this great new thing. Oh, look at the water it be. Everything's waxed to perfection, so the rain beads on it. And I was like really starting to think they've just banged out another one. And when you add to that the fact that Forza was only a few months ago, it's like, what are they doing?
Even the menus have little rain droplets.
Everything,
it's dripping
everything's
down.
wet. And the whole like motorcycle thing just seemed really gratuitous and made me like, it took me the longest time to find a way of riding the bikes where I could actually physically handle it.
Yeah, I never
Because
found
it
that
leans
part.
the camera. Like I always play either the camera sort of down near the ground or in cockpit, depending on the car.
Right.
You try and do that on the bikes, and like the in cockpit, the in helmet cam, where it leans the bike and is leaning your head independently, so it's sort of swaying round. I've never felt motion sickness from a game before, but this one, I was just like, I can't do it. I'm not going to be able to play this game. But what I found was that once I got through that initial hour, where it was just like, you're doing like, it's trying to mix it up, and it's doing races, and then you're running through cones, and everything feels very narrow and it's got that claustrophobic vibe early on that PGR3 had. But then, there were two things happened where it won me over. One was, I don't know what the bike was, but there was a bike where I didn't feel completely out of control, and I actually kind of enjoyed it, and I was doing wheelies and endos and stuff. But then, the thing that really got it for me was the Tesla Roadster versus the Testarossa. That challenge was like, it was really awesome. I was like, this is something genuinely interesting in a video game, and particularly a racing game, which have basically been retreads of each other forever. And I'm like, this is something like really new. It's like, you know, an electric car against a classic exotic car, and the Tesla nails it.
Yeah,
it's awesome.
It's so weird driving that car. Like, there's
No
like
sound.
no noise.
Yeah, I mean, like when you get right up to the high end of its rev range, it sounds a bit like a hairdryer.
Yeah, that's a little wind noise.
Yeah, but it handles like so well. You just leave the Testarossa way behind, and at that point, I'm like, okay, this maybe has something a little different to offer.
About buying an electric car now.
Well, Testarossa is like $200,000, so I don't think so. But I mean, like, it was like, wow, I kind of learned something there. There's like, when people talk about the torque in an electric car being crazy, I mean, this thing accelerated like light cycles from Tron. It was awesome.
Yeah, the big moment for me was that lap that you do at Nürburgring in the snow in a Maserati 250F.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a crazy car to be driving in the snow. It's like this 1950s Formula One car. Super famous. I don't think I've ever seen it in another game before.
No.
And
Well, some old simulations on the PC used to do like classic racing cars. Like some old, there was an old Sierra racing game that had stuff like that in it.
there was like Grand Prix Legends.
Yeah,
that
those
probably
things,
had
yeah.
that,
But they've tried to position the game as being this tension between cars versus bikes, and I think a lot of the marketing was, you take a super bike against I mean, it has everything from the T1, that crazy Formula One looking thing is in there, and
I'm not really crazy about the whole bikes versus cars thing, and especially in online multiplayer. If you're on a bike, you just get like run over, like literally. It's almost impossible.
But what I found was it was actually like this game of these little moments every now and then that kept you interested. Because there is a lot of tedious stuff in between where you are just sort of plodding through the career mode, like pulling stuff off and the cars are getting gradually better. But then every now and then it'll do something like the classic cars or the unusual matchups or some like crazy challenge that it kind of wins you over again and keeps you going. The line where Forza and PGR meets is sort of a little blurred. It's by no means as hardcore sim-like, and they've tried to do some sort of arcadey thing, but it's still, I think if you're into cars but not really anal about it, this has a lot of things that you would want. But I think early on, those very narrow tracks, particularly the stuff in Vegas and some of the stuff in Europe, it's a bit frustrating. You're just banging off the sides, but when you get to some of the race tracks and the Nürburgring, when it's really open, you start to get a feel for sliding a car. Like, you know, I did one race on the Nürburgring with an M5 and just like slid it round, and like when you do nail it, I mean, it feels fantastic.
Oh, hello. It's time for some arts and crafts. Now, at one point in our lives or another, we all have friends, and sometimes our friends leave us, and sometimes we need to replace those friends, however way we can. So in order to do that, we're going to make our own friends today, and what you'll need for that, a pair of scissors, safety scissors if you can find them, if not, really sharp ones. That'll help cut a lot. You're going to need a paper plate, round if you can find it. A square one works okay, but I don't know if they make those. You're going to need some tape. And you're just going to need a friend. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut out a friend. You want to be careful with the hair, especially with this one. So we're just going to cut around. And there we go. Next step is to get some tape and we affix our friend to the new face. Put a lot of tape on there so it doesn't get up and leave you. And voila. But it's not quite done yet. We need a body. So we take a toy guitar, and we all have these lying around. I have 3 right there. Ask your parents if you can't find one. And we'll just take a lot of tape. And there you go. You have a brand new friend. How you doing? Yeah? No, I didn't hear that.
Oh my god, I suck.
They made me their sheep.
You see when anyone puts sentry guns down in the
When's
lake?
Boxing Day?
Yeah, in the water.
Yeah.
That shit's too.
An orange box appears.
An orange box appears, indeed. Hey, you guys all played this shit, right?
We did.
What'd you think?
Yeah, it was good. I don't think that the Half-Life 2 and Episode 1 and 2 actually translated as well as it could have to the console. I think control-wise, the shooting was a little insubstantial and floaty, and the weapon changing was a hassle with all the D-pad. But on the whole, the things that make Half-Life great are still great there.
The only thing I wish it did is when you weapon switched, they had adopted a Bioshock scheme where you can hold on the button and pause the action and then pick your weapon. I mean, it kind of takes you out for a second, but it is a little annoying to have to not only use the D-pad to switch between the weapons, but tap twice in whatever direction, because you kind of have to remember the hierarchy of where the weapons are and then remember to tap in those directions.
Generally, people playing it, are on a console, they're gonna get a totally solid experience. It's
no doubt.
like this is the first time that a Valve game has come to a console and has felt really, really similar to the PC version. Like, I don't think you're really missing out, especially if you're in it to enjoy the single player content. Because, you know, I did go back and check out Half-Life 2, the original Half-Life 2, and what's nice is it does look better. Added HDR in there. They put new models in for some of the major characters, and it does have a different feel. Little scenes like at the beginning when you're being chased through the tenements, and you know, you're running through different apartment complexes and hallways. Like, it's darker in there now. Like the scene, the ambiance feels different because of the new lighting, and I actually like it a lot better.
Attention residents.
Run for your life! Civil protection!
Inform. Cooperate. Assemble.
It's almost a shame that they didn't have just throw Half-Life
1 on there.
Yeah, I mean, not that there's not like a million things on this already, but just to kind of so people can catch up.
Something to talk about in this too is of course the episodic format.
Yeah.
You know, the length of these games, and for me, they're ideal. I think a lot of people when they play it, they'll say, okay, this is just the right length. Anything that doesn't work, anything that's repetitive, get it, screw it, get rid of it. Just put something in there that works. It's not bang, 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 a thrill a minute, but it's like, it's very evenly paced, you know, with a measure of like a good movie, where there's epic conflict, then there's quiet time, then there's individual combat and stuff. And the equivalent of here is what they're doing is that there might be some kind of puzzle thing, there might be some driving, there might be, you know, medium scale combat, there might be grand combat. As soon as you're starting to get tired of one thing, it's like, it just like gradually grades right into something new.
I mean, that's the thing that I feel like most developers could learn most from Valve. Kicking into like hardcore combat, then going to a cutscene and kicking into hardcore combat isn't necessarily like that thrilling, and you end up getting what you, like you said, fatigue.
Whoa, a dropship. That must have been the crash we heard.
There are segments of the game that they've shown before in videos that, like, when they happen, are far more intense and epic than you ever would have imagined from just like watching some gameplay footage when they released it.
There's a part in the mines when the head crabs and all the zombie menagerie are kind of pitted against the antlion and the insect menagerie that they have, and then you have a Vortigaunt with you and you're fighting. It's awesome. I mean, you start running around and you look and you see the Vortigaunt's helping me, but then you see the antlions and head crabs and zombies are all fighting each other, and then at one moment you might piss them both off and they come at you.
Observe how they fight on below. Heedless sparks.
All looks different, which I think is also important for a console game. Even in like Halo, even if it's not backtracking directly, there's lots of corridors that look the same.
Mm-hmm.
In Half-Life, it's like every square inch of the world is different.
Different color
it feels
palette.
like the real world in that regard. Yeah, and the geometry is so varied.
They've been always really good about that, about putting in extra detail in places. Even if you're walking down the hallway that looks like the next hallway over, it's going to be painted differently or have different debris on the ground or different trash piled up over here just so that it feels different.
We always talk about how like organically everything's integrated in the game.
Yeah.
It's like if they want to give you a radar, instead of putting it on your heads-up display, they put it in the vehicle and you actually refer to it physically in the vehicle. If they want you to understand the lay of the land, in the game, someone will have a map on a wall and say, hey, check this out, and you look at it.
Puzzling. The sentries should have spotted us by now.
You think the Combine found them?
Such a theory is hardly far-fetched.
The story's never been laid on as thick as it was in episode 2, and that's interesting because Sean and I have talked a lot about those games, and you know we've always been a fan of the way the story's told, and this one definitely more than the other games like pushes narrative forward for like many of the major characters.
The secondary silo.
Thank goodness you're okay.
Back to work.
Glad that's over. We couldn't get in till you sealed off the silo when the blast doors opened up.
Regrettably true.
I'd better let my dad know you're all right.
episode 2 ends on a very strong narrative note.
Yeah.
That, people are gonna want to talk about. No one's
but
gonna
you
want
can't.
people to spoil, right? But the thing is, like, that happens all the way throughout this game, more so than the other two, definitely.
When I finish this game, you're in Japan. I start texting you. I was like, Ryan, oh shit.
Yeah.
I was like, dude, I just wanted to tell someone about it. It's like, when you see those things when people come out of movies and you pose the camera out there and someone's like, that was the feel-good event of the summer. It was like that.
Anyone who likes Half-Life, you have to play it. And anyone who hasn't gotten a chance to get into the Half-Life narrative yet, like now, playing through those 3 games at least, like there's enough story there that I don't think anyone's gonna get mad at it for not telling its tale.
If you think you're up to it, we'll let you out there.
Huh. He's always up for it. Right, Gordon?
We got a trap door up here where I can let you over to the other side. That way you'll get to see the gun before it sees you.
The humor in the whole package, it's like a lot of like really subtle humor, a lot of really smart humor, like not just
it's not
in,
overdone.
Yeah, especially in Portal.
As part of a previously mentioned required test protocol, we can no longer lie to you. When the testing is over, you will be missed.
It's just kind of setting you loose in these little rooms and saying, well, you gotta get to the exit, and not really explaining to you how, but then the narrator is really entertaining you and just like keeping it fresh while you're figuring this out for yourself.
Now that you are in control of both portals, this next test could take a very, very long time. If you become lightheaded from thirst, feel free to pass out.
I think if it was just you by yourself, it would feel really isolated, and you get frustrating when you got stuck. But here, it's like it always finds a way to entertain you and keep you kind of teaching yourself to get to the next area.
Once again, excellent work. As part of a required test protocol, we will not monitor the next test chamber. You will be entirely on your own. Good luck.
It starts off more of like a puzzle game, just thinking it all through, but as it goes on, it relies more and more on reflexes, and without spoiling the actual puzzle, it's not just figuring it out, it's then doing it. To the point where sometimes you'll have to go flying across the room and create a portal underneath you right as you land to keep the momentum going. So it goes from just just looking around and figuring it out and then just doing it very simply to where it's easy to see what you have to do, but it's really complicated to do it. And I think that gradual shift throughout the entire game also makes it, I think, feel longer than it actually is.
There's so much I'd love to talk about Portal, but to talk about it would spoil it, and so you just can't.
Actively avoid
Portal
having
spoilers.
someone spoiling either game for you. The way that the two, just know that the two games do connect in some fashion, that big things happen in each, and that there's some serious mindfuck in Portal. The fact that they did get that narrative in there, and it was such a great thing, because if you take a puzzle game, and you're going to create this big rat maze, putting a good reward at the end is going to help you want to get through it faster, other than just because it's there and you're a lab rat and you got nothing else to do, I'm thinking of a cool mod, and maybe on PS3 too. Definitely they're not going to allow this stuff on Xbox Live, but maybe PS3, where you have 2 people in it once or more, and it's kind of like a race, or you work together and think how are we going to get through these extremely devious puzzles.
Right, giving you and a partner, and then you have twice as many portals or something like that.
And you make them not just, you also make them skill-based too, where it's a matter of okay, you have to get this just the right way, you have to get your speed and your mid-air turning and stuff right.
I've spent all my spare time in between playing the other games replaying Portal, the advanced versions that have some of the maps, which even it's a short game, you can play it harder versions where they close certain doors, they take out boxes and just make it trickier. You can also play it where it's the least steps possible or the least portals possible. There's a lot of replay within there.
Talking about pacing, even Robin and those guys back at Valve talked a lot about trying to get that same sort of single-player pacing into Team Fortress as a multiplayer game. They just wanted to make it fun for 2 or 3 people to get in on a bigger team, but work as tiny groups and be able to have these kind of high moments, these low moments, and this game does have more drama in it than most multiplayer shooters do.
I was a demo man, and I was putting pipe bombs on the inside of a door, and I was playing defensively. And the door opens up, and there's a heavy, and he comes through, and of course everyone's really expressive in the game. He's just like, "Argh." And then I blew my pipe bombs, and he's just like, his face went blank, and his eyes just kind of, and then he like backed up and walked away, and the door closed. But it was like the best moment ever. It was like, yeah, that's right. That moment right there, of course, the player decided he was going to back up slowly. It is very naturally what you want to do. You just got stuff blown up in your face, and you want to go get some health or something. But it came together so well. It was like, that could have been like an anime, like if animators were like, okay, we have this scene in our storyboard that calls for this, everything I just described to happen. That would be exactly what they would have done to the expression. It's been crazy, you know, like Ryan Scott, who I work with, is like, does not play FPSs at all. Like, that's all he's playing now. He's not even playing MMOs anymore. Like, at least for these past 2 weeks. And it started because those things we were talking about. You come by and you look and you're like, okay, that's not just like a bunch of the usual tough guys in blood and guts or something. There's something about it, you know, there's something about it, even though there is blood and guts and they are tough guys. And that draws people in. And then when they play, they've got like these access points. The medic, you know, to some extent the pyro, the heavy weapons guy, the engineers. All enable people who aren't like the craziest, like high reflex crack shots there are out there to at least get in and enjoy the game and feel like they're contributing to their team. It reminds me a lot of a fighting game too. You know, when you see a class coming, you're like, okay, here comes a pyro, and it's very much like, oh, here comes the guy who plays Chun-Li, or like, you know, or like, here's the guy who's going to come and abuse like Guile's exploits on me or something like that. You know,
or it happens normally in these class-based shooters too. Like, there's a sniper over on the other side of the map. He's taking down a bunch of your team. You're like, fuck it, I'll go sniper this time. And show him, exactly. I can do that.
But
shit
even
too.
just like it just emphasizes that to an even greater extent.
Right.
And like on the fighting game analogy too, like, you know, so many the trend was to get, you know, increasingly complex. But in this case, they actually went back and said, let's actually make this game like easier to use and, you know, simpler than Team Fortress Classic in many ways. You know, I think it works. So it's kind of like the difference between going from like, I don't know, you know, Virtua Fighter or something to being more like a Soul Calibur, where you hear a lot of people like, oh, I can still get in, even if you're gonna win. I can at least like hurt you by hitting A and B at the same time a bunch of times. You know,
yeah,
or something like
but
that.
It doesn't feel. I mean, I don't think it feels quite that. It doesn't feel like a baby game either. You know,
it doesn't. Like, there's some things that I do want to get this in. Critical hits, dude, that's bullshit. That does not belong. Well, at least give servers admins the option to turn it on or off. That's really alien to me, you know? I mean, it's a skill-based game. It's like to just say, like, I'm suddenly playing Dungeons & Dragons all of a sudden, and the fucking 20-sided die rolled the wrong way, and all of a sudden some asshole kills me with a single hit of a shotgun, even though I hit him with a rocket, you know? Like, I gotta get used to that. That stuff bugs me.
I play a lot of Halo, but if there's one other game out there that I'm gonna play on and off for the next year, it's gonna be Team Fortress, I think, because it's different enough.
Yeah.
And there's those little microcosms of teams where it's like Halo, you either are communicating kind of with your whole team, or you're by yourself, lone wolf, doing whatever. Team Fortress is kind of a nice middle ground there, where you can cooperate with just a couple people and still get something out of it.
So do you want to like show me some more shit? I've been trying to learn how to play engineer, but I don't know where the new I don't know where the new the best like places to drop shit are yet.
If you want to learn engineer techniques, you got to switch to engineer.
Oh shit.
That's the first one.
That's the pro tip of the day.
Dude, so I unlocked Dragon Force with Guitar Hero.
You shut the fuck up!
I know you don't really play that game.
Skip. I know you miss him, but we've talked about this.
Talked about what?
This is creepy.
You shut the fuck up!
When you do this.
Do what? Hey, what are you doing? That's my friend.
You shut the fuck up!
Che, do something.
You just gotta get over it, buddy.
You shut the fuck up!
All my friends are leaving. What am I supposed to do?